Number 12, your brain decides before you. Do you probably believe that you make your own decisions? You weigh the options, think it through, and then choose. That feels true. It feels obvious. But according to neuroscience, it's mostly an illusion. For decades, experiments have been quietly proving something that most people absolutely refuse to accept. Your brain decides before you become aware of deciding. In famous studies, participants were asked to press a button with either their left or right hand whenever they felt like it, while their brain activity was scanned. The subjects also had to report the exact moment they became aware of choosing. Here's the disturbing part. Scientists could predict which hand a person would use up to 10 seconds before the person consciously made the decision. 10 seconds. That means your unconscious brain had already committed to an action long before your conscious mind felt in control. Your awareness is lagging behind reality. By the time you feel the urge, the choice has already been made. So what is your conscious mind really doing? It's mostly narrating. It receives the decision, then invents a story about why it was the rational choice. It's less like a CEO making decisions and more like a press secretary explaining them after the fact. People hate this idea. It feels like an attack on free will, on responsibility, on identity. So they reject it. They insist, no, I definitely chose that. But the evidence keeps piling up. You are still responsible for your actions, yet the part of you that feels in control is not as powerful as it thinks. Your brain is running the show backstage, and your conscious mind is mostly the audience being kept informed. Number 11, your memories are not reliable. Most people treat their memories like video recordings. They say things like, I remember it perfectly, or I could never forget that. We trust our memories enough to send people to prison based on eyewitness testimony alone. But the truth is brutal. Your memories are not reliable. They are not recordings. They are stories that get rewritten every time you remember them. When you recall an event, your brain does not play back an exact file. Instead, it reconstructs the memory from scattered bits of information stored across different regions. It fills in missing pieces with assumptions, emotions, and current beliefs. Then it saves that updated version over the old one. Every time you remember something, you slightly change it. Two people can experience the same event and remember it completely differently years later. Siblings often argue about what really happened in childhood. Each one is convinced they're right. In reality, both of their brains have been quietly rewriting those memories for years. In controlled experiments, researchers have been able to implant false memories simply by repeatedly suggesting that something happened. After enough repetition, people remember events that never occurred, with full emotional certainty. This is why eyewitness testimony is so unreliable. People are not lying on purpose. Their brains are giving them a story that feels real, even when it isn't. Most people refuse to accept this because it's terrifying. If your memories are flexible, what does that say about your identity, your past, your relationships? But facing this uncomfortable truth has one powerful benefit. You become less certain that your version of events is the only truth. You become more willing to question your own story. Number 10, your sense of taste is mostly smell. You probably think your tongue is responsible for all the incredible flavors you experience. Pizza, chocolate, coffee, spicy noodles. It feels like your taste buds are doing all the work. They're not. Your tongue is surprisingly limited. It only detects 5 basic sensations: sweet, salty, sour, bitter, and umami. That's it. Everything else you think of as taste is actually smell. When you eat, volatile molecules rise up the back of your throat into your nasal cavity, where your olfactory receptors live. Your brain combines those smell signals with the basic inputs from your tongue, plus texture and temperature, to create the illusion of rich, complex flavor. You can test this yourself. Pinch your nose completely shut and eat something strongly flavored, like an onion or a strawberry. With your sense of smell blocked, they both become strangely flat and similar. As soon as you unpinch your nose, the flavor magically returns. That magic is smell. Most people refuse to accept this. They insist, no, I can taste that. I taste chocolate, garlic, mint. But technically, you don't. You taste sweet, salty, sour, bitter, or umami. Everything else is your nose. This truth matters more than you'd think. It explains why food tastes dull when you have a cold. It explains why chefs obsess over aroma. And it means if you want to truly upgrade your eating experience, you should focus less on your tongue and more on your nose. Number 9, pain is not a direct signal from your body. Everyone thinks pain works like this. You get injured, nerves send a signal to your brain, and you feel pain. Simple, right? Wrong. Pain is not a direct, honest message from your body. Pain is an opinion, your brain's best guess about whether you are in danger. The same injury can produce wildly different levels of pain depending on context. During war, soldiers with severe injuries sometimes report feeling almost no pain until they're safe. Athletes finish games with broken bones they didn't notice until afterward. On the other hand, people with chronic pain can experience intense suffering even when doctors find no ongoing damage at all. Modern pain science shows that your brain takes many things into account: past experiences, emotions, expectations, even how safe you feel in the environment. It then decides how much pain you should feel. This is why placebos can reduce pain. Your expectation of relief leads your brain to dial back the pain signal, and it's why fear, stress, and anxiety often make pain worse. People refuse to accept this because it sounds like someone is saying, "The pain is in your head," as if it's not real. But that's the point. The pain is real precisely because it's in your head. That's where all pain is created. Understanding this doesn't magically cure pain, but it gives back some power. If the brain can turn pain up, it can also turn it down. Therapies that change how you think about pain, like cognitive behavioral therapy and graded exposure, work by teaching your brain that you are not in constant danger. Pain isn't a simple warning light. It's a complex story your brain is telling, and that story can change. Number 8. You have far more than 5 senses. You've been told your whole life that humans have 5 senses: sight, hearing, smell, taste, and touch. It's one of the first things schools teach kids. It's clean, simple, and easy to remember. It's also deeply wrong. Humans have many more senses, at least 14, and depending on how you define them, even more. You have equilibrioception, your sense of balance. That's how you can stand upright and walk without falling over. You have proprioception, your sense of where your body parts are in space without looking at them. That's how you can touch your nose with your eyes closed or type on a keyboard without staring at your fingers. You have nociception, the sense of pain. You have thermoception, the sense of temperature. You have interoception, the sense of what's happening inside your body: hunger, thirst, heartbeat, the need to breathe. These are not just feelings, they are distinct senses with their own receptors and neural pathways. So why do people refuse to let go of the 5 senses idea? Because it's simple. It's what they learned as children, and the brain clings to early lessons stubbornly, even when new evidence proves them wrong. The real picture is more complex, but also far more impressive. Your brain isn't just juggling 5 streams of information. It's processing a whole orchestra of sensory data every second, integrating it into a seamless experience of reality. You are far more capable than that neat little list of 5 suggests. Number 7. Willpower is not a personality trait. Most people think of willpower as something you either have or you don't. She has incredible self-control. He's just lazy. We treat discipline like a moral quality. But the truth is, willpower behaves much more like a limited resource than a fixed character trait. Psychological research shows that self-control draws on mental energy. When you resist temptation, make hard decisions, or force yourself to focus, you're spending that energy. After enough use, it becomes depleted, at least temporarily. This is why it's harder to eat healthy at night after a long day of decisions. It's why people snap at loved ones at the end of stressful days. Their willpower tank is low. Most people refuse to accept this because it clashes with a comforting belief that they are always in full control. Blaming lack of character feels simpler than recognizing mental limits. The real insight is both humbling and empowering. If willpower depletes, then environment and habits matter more than raw discipline. People who appear to have strong willpower often design their lives to rely on it less. They remove temptations, set routines, and automate good decisions. Self-control is not about being a moral superhero. It's about understanding that your mental energy is finite and building systems that protect it. Number 6. Most of your thoughts aren't really yours. You probably believe that the thoughts in your head are your own creations. You think them. You own them. But a shocking amount of what passes through your mind is simply recycled material. Your brain is constantly copying phrases, tones, and ideas from the people and media around you. The way you argue, the jokes you tell, the opinions you hold often started as something you heard somewhere else. Psychologists call this social contagion, ideas and emotions spreading like viruses through groups. When everyone around you is anxious, you become anxious. When your social circle complains a lot, you start to view the world more negatively, often without noticing the shift. Even our independent preferences are influenced by exposure. The more often you see a face, a logo, or a song, the more likely you are to like it. It's called the mere exposure effect. I just like it usually means my brain has seen this enough times to feel safe and familiar with it. Most people refuse to accept this because it threatens their sense of uniqueness. Nobody wants to think of themselves as a walking collage of borrowed thoughts, but seeing this clearly can be liberating. Once you realize how easily your mind is influenced, you can choose your influences more carefully. The accounts you follow, the friends you keep, the content you consume, these are not just entertainment. They are actively writing the script inside your head. You are not the sole author of your thoughts, but you can choose which co-authors you allow in. Number 5, multitasking destroys productivity. Almost everyone believes they're a good multitasker. They brag about answering emails while in meetings, scrolling their phone while watching shows, or doing homework with music, videos, and chat all open at once. But your brain is terrible at multitasking. What you call multitasking is actually rapid task switching, and your brain pays a heavy price for it. Every time you switch from one task to another, your brain must refocus, reload context, and reset priorities. This takes time and energy, even if it happens in fractions of a second. Studies show that frequent switching can reduce productivity by up to 40%. It also increases error rates and stress. You feel busy, you feel overloaded, but you're getting less done, less accurately, and exhausting your mind in the process. People refuse to accept this for one simple reason: it feels good to be busy. Multitasking creates the illusion of high performance. It makes you feel important, in demand, hyper-productive. The truth is less flattering. Sustained focus on one task at a time is almost always more effective. Single tasking beats multitasking. The most productive people are not juggling more than you. They're protecting their attention more than you. Number 4, sleep debt. Doesn't just go away. You've probably heard someone say, "I'll catch up on sleep this weekend." The idea is simple. You can stay up late all week, then sleep in a couple of days and be fine. Your brain wishes that were true. It's not. Sleep is not a bank account where you can perfectly withdraw during the week and deposit on Saturday. When you chronically undersleep, your brain and body accumulate sleep debt that cannot be fully repaid. Studies show that people who sleep, say, 6 hours a night for 2 weeks, function as badly on cognitive tests as someone who has been awake for 24 hours straight. The scary part, they don't feel that impaired. Their self-assessment stays relatively positive, even as their performance collapses. Sleeping in once or twice may help you feel less tired, but it doesn't fully reverse the damage. Chronic sleep debt is linked to memory problems, weight gain, weakened immune function, mood disorders, and higher risk of heart disease. Most people refuse to accept this because modern life is built on the illusion that sleep is flexible. Work late, scroll longer, binge. One more episode. You can always catch up. But your brain is running long-term calculations while you bargain with your alarm clock. It doesn't forget the nights you stole from it. It simply adjusts downward. If you wouldn't repeatedly starve your body and try to catch up on calories once a week, you shouldn't treat sleep that way either. Number 3, your genes are not your destiny. People love to blame their genes. My whole family is overweight, so I will be too. Everyone in my family has heart problems. It's just in my DNA. Genes do play a role, but genetics alone is not destiny. And that's a fact many people refuse to accept, because destiny feels easier than responsibility. The science of epigenetics shows that your environment and behavior can literally switch genes on or off. The DNA sequence doesn't change, but how actively certain genes are expressed does. Things like diet, exercise, sleep, stress, smoking, pollution, and even social relationships can modify how your genes behave. Identical twins who share the same DNA often end up with different health outcomes because their lifestyles diverge. Classic studies of children conceived during famines found that the hunger their mothers experienced changed how their genes were expressed for decades. In some cases, those epigenetic marks were passed on to the next generation. Most people refuse to accept this because it removes a convenient excuse. If it's just genetic, then nothing can be done. But if behavior can alter gene expression, then lifestyle choices matter far more than they'd like to admit. You cannot control the genes you are born with, but you have far more influence over how those genes express themselves than most people want to believe. Genes load the gun, environment pulls the trigger. Number 2, you're not as rational as you think. Almost everyone thinks of themselves as rational. Other people might be emotional, biased, or irrational, but not them. They see both sides. They just look at the facts. The uncomfortable truth is that your brain is not a logic machine. It's a survival machine that uses shortcuts. Those shortcuts are called cognitive biases, and you are full of them. Confirmation bias makes you seek out information that agrees with what you already believe. The availability heuristic makes you overestimate risks that are vivid or recent, like plane crashes, and underestimate silent dangers, like poor diet. The halo effect makes you assume that if someone is good at one thing, they must be good at other things too. Even when you know these biases exist, you still fall for them. Your brain does not neutrally examine the world and then form beliefs. It forms beliefs for emotional, social, or identity reasons, and then cherry picks evidence to support them. People refuse to accept this because "I am irrational" clashes with their self-image. It feels like an insult, but it's not an insult, it's a design feature. Recognizing your irrationality is not about beating yourself up. It's about understanding that your first thought is often not the most accurate one. It's about building habits that compensate, seeking opposing views, slowing down big decisions, letting evidence change your mind. You are not a cold, logical robot. You are a clever, emotional creature who sometimes uses logic to justify what you already wanted to believe. Number 1, you don't see reality. As it is, this might be the most uncomfortable fact of all. You are not experiencing reality as it truly is. You are experiencing a useful hallucination your brain has constructed. Your eyes don't show you the world. They send raw data, light of different wavelengths hitting photoreceptors. Your ears send vibrations. Your skin sends pressure, temperature, and pain signals. Your brain takes all this messy, incomplete information and builds a model of the world, a best guess. It fills in blind spots. It smooths over gaps. It colors things based on context and expectation. Optical illusions prove this. You know the lines are the same length, but one still looks longer. You know the squares are the same color, but they appear different in the checkerboard. The brain is not misfiring in those moments. It's revealing how it always works, just usually in ways that are helpful rather than confusing. Even your sense of self is part of this constructed model. There is no single you location in the brain. Different regions handle memory, body awareness, emotions, language. Together, they create the feeling of a unified self, like a movie edited from many scenes. Most people refuse to accept this because it feels destabilizing. If you're not seeing reality directly, then what can you trust? The answer is, you can't trust your perception blindly. You can only trust it cautiously and improve it by using tools like measurement, science, and collaboration. Your personal experience is real, but it is not a mirror of the outside world. It's a custom-rendered version tailored for survival, not for truth.